Okay, so some news recently came out with regards to the Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull show, which is happening. Like, I can't emphasize enough how big this weekend in boxing is going to be. The May weekend, obviously, because we've got the Friday night show in Times Square in New York. At least they say it's going to be in Times Square. Teofimo Lopez, Arnold Barbosa, Ryan Garcia versus Rowley, and obviously Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. And I think that card, only 3 fights, but that's all you need. It's going to be epic. It's going to be an amazing sight. Sunday, we've Naoya Inoue fighting. So, look, I love Naoya Inoue. I think that's the bank holiday weekend in the UK and Ireland. Because I know we don't have normally the same bank holidays. I think the one in May we do share. So we can watch that Sunday night. Or talk about it Monday morning, either or. And then Saturday, May the 3rd, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, is the Canelo-William Scull fight. Now, this fight is... I don't want to be harsh to William Scull because he is coming in as a world champion, if nothing else. It is for undisputed, even though, again, with undisputed, you normally, not always, there are some undisputed fights that happen where you're kind of like, okay, the writing's on the wall. Julius Ndongo, Terence Crawford being a very, very good example. That fight was over in a couple of rounds, I think 2 or 3 rounds, years ago now. William Scull is still a world champion. I'm not giving him much of a chance against Canelo, but that's not to say he couldn't spring an upset. You never know. Upsets do happen. Canelo Alvarez, Turki Al-Sheikh, everybody's looking ahead to Crawford in September, and having that fight as undisputed, selling it as undisputed, is... The fight doesn't really need that much selling, but that is a big help. It is. So they're main eventing, and now we have the undercard revealed. Now, I'm going to have to forgive my ignorance with the first two fights, because I'm not exactly familiar at all with them. So, Brian Leon versus Aaron Guerrero, can honestly say rings no bells, either of them. Marco Verdi versus Michelle Polina. Again, don't ring a bell with either of them, to be fair. But then we get into the fighters that do. So then we have Badu Jack. We all know Badu Jack. He's going to fight a guy called Ryan Rosicki. I'm thinking he is Polish because I checked his box record. I'm pretty sure it said he was Polish. He actually drew his last fight. He lost. Who did he lose to now? I don't have his box record open in front of me, and I had a quick check, and I forget who it was he lost to. I think it was a little while ago. Recently fought Ola Duradola, who's old as dirt at this stage. I mean, that guy, he had a bit of a kind of Indian summer nearly actually about 10 years ago, so that kind of says where he's at in his career. I mean, really, he is old as dirt now at this stage. That's the guy Badu Jack is fighting. Now, Badu Jack is a bit of a darling on those. Well, I don't know if he's ever fought I don't think he's fought on a Riyadh season show, but he has fought in Saudi Arabia on a couple of occasions. He fought on Joshua Usyk's undercard, and that right there, was it Richard Rivera he fought? Now, that, people, right there was just insanity. I'm convinced we had a nearly 5-minute round in that fight. It was just, they were so pro Badu Jack. It was insane. People want to talk about Hamza Shearer getting special treatment. Now, Badu Jack is the darling over there. I'd say he's probably 2 rounds up already and the bell hasn't even gone yet. And obviously he fought on the undercard. He was co-main Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, where he knocked out Ilunga Makabu in the last round. And that was a legit, that was a fair fight. He was the better man on the night and he knocked him out legitimately in the last round. So you all know Badu Jack. I believe that Ryan Rosicki, or Rosicki, however you pronounce it, I believe he's the interim. No, sorry, his last fight was, I think, for the interim title, but considering it was a draw, it doesn't really go anywhere. So is this for Jack's world title? Didn't he lose that? Didn't he vacate it? I'm not 100% sure, but he's on there as well. I'm not doing this in chronological order of the fights. I want to save this next one for last. Jaime Munguia versus Bruno Sarasis 2. Shock. It was an absolute seismic shock when I woke up that morning in December to see that he was knocked out in 7 or 8 rounds thereabouts. Doubly so considering that Munguia never showed a fragile chin or anything like that. In there with Canelo, he was dropped, but Canelo is a big puncher, we know. And this Bruno Sarasis guy had, 4 knockouts thereabouts going into the fight, so you were kind of like, okay, that's strange. He was able to get the one punch knockout of that, if nothing else. Bruno Saras, he was losing the fight in my opinion, but he pulled it out of the bag. And yeah, again, shocked me. Really, truly did shock me. Absolutely shocked me. So he's going to be fighting Munguia as the co-main. But the fight I'm really intrigued at is Bakole. Martin Bakole will face Efe Ajagba. No mention as to whether that's an IBF final eliminator. I suspect it won't be. That was meant to happen irrespective of Joe Parker, but had he not fought Joe Parker, it would have been an IBF final eliminator. Now, on any given day, when I look at both fighters and their respective styles, I'm thinking of Martin Bakole firing on all cylinders. Wins this fight. And he probably wins it. You want to be careful because Efe Ajagba has power, but I would make him a pretty firm favourite, to be honest with you. But how is he going to be after that debacle against Joseph Parker? He took the fight on basically 2 days' notice. He only arrived in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on the day of the fight. He was in no kind of shape at all. And he got stopped in 2 rounds with a headshot. I believe that's the first time he's ever touched down as a pro as well. How is he going to be from all that? Now, on one sense, you'd say, well, Billy Nelson jumped in very, very quickly. Probably because he knew the writing was on the wall and they knew that they had the fight in May. So don't let him take any flipping damage. He's gone down, throw in that towel, save him for another day. He'll probably be okay, given that it was a one-punch knockout. He wasn't out cold or anything like that. His legs betrayed him, but he wasn't, knocked completely into outer space or anything like that. But you do still wonder, you're talking only the end of February and he's going to have this fight in May and he has suffered a knockout loss, albeit it's not an Amir Khan Canelo Alvarez knockout defeat. It's not a Ricky Hatton Manny Pacquiao where you need probably a year to recover from that. But it's still a knockout defeat. How is he going to be? How motivated is he going to be? Knowing now that there's no title on the line, and it's almost a double-edged sword now, because if this was, we'll say, a normal final eliminator for the IBF, I would have no problem picking Bakole to win. He would get his crack against Daniel Dubois or whoever's the champion. If Dubois fights Usyk, he might fight for a vacant. You get what I mean? He'll inevitably fight for a world title. If he goes in there and does a job at Ajagba, no champion is going to give him a voluntary. None of the contenders are probably going to want to fight him. So he could end up getting frozen out. And that would be a shame, based upon one decision, which was a stupid decision, really, in retrospect. It really was. To take a fight with no training, no anything on that short notice, ridiculous, pathetic decision from Martin Bakole, really. And it could backfire. This could have a knock-on effect on his whole career. Let's wait and see. In terms of the card itself, I've got no issue with it. I think it's absolutely fine. It was always going to be kind of more heavy on the kind of American end. American-based fighters, and I know obviously Munguia and all that, they're Mexican with the greatest respect, but it'd be fighters based more over in the States. I've seen one comment on X saying, for a Canelo undercard, this is weak. Mate, have you ever actually gone and watched many of Canelo's undercards? I challenge you to name me some of the fights that actually take place on the undercards. They're normally abysmal. That, by contrast, is one of his better undercards. It genuinely is. That's true. That's me being completely fair. That's one of his better undercards. They're normally absolutely terrible because you're really only going for Canelo. I think Jojo Diaz back in the day fought as co-main on a couple of Canelo's undercards. Jojo Diaz was never any great shakes. I think he fought on the Triple G undercard, the first fight. I'm trying to think who else fought. I think the Canelo Triple G2 undercard was decent enough. I know you had Lemieux versus Spike O'Sullivan. You had Jaime Munguia versus that Brandon Cook guy. I think Chocolatito fought on the undercard as well. And I can't quite remember who else fought. I think that was it. But you get what I mean. They're normally pretty damn crap. In comparison, that's a pretty good undercard. It is, genuinely is. Bruno Saras behind Munguia, I'm invested. Canelo Scull, let's see what Scull can do. Bakole versus Ajagba, there's intrigue. There's intrigue where there maybe wasn't any intrigue there in the past. And Badu Jack. More so intrigued to see what he can get away with, to be honest with you. But those are my thoughts on that. Let me know yours in the comments section below. Good undercard, bad undercard, indifferent. Let me know. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe as always. Peace.